Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Ultra. Now it's been a while since we looked at Ultra, and to summarize what's happened since then, it's basically moved up. However, these last few weeks, we have had a bit of a pullback. And before I get into where I think Ultra will go, I first want to explain and just point out a few of the things that I'm going to be looking at here. First of all, we have these two arrows, this red and this blue. They are color coordinated to these two here, and again, the blue indicates how long it's been or how long we have left until the current halving. So we have 14 weeks until the current halving. And this red one indicates a price range that we're going to look at that Ultra could potentially return to this halving. These orange lines are ranges that Ultra operated within and shows the trend it followed. These blue lines just make it easier for me to recognize patterns that Ultra followed in both its bear and bull market years. And these white lines are just where Ultra spent a bit of time. We can actually remove them. They're not too important. So getting straight into it, I want to talk about where Ultra could return to this halving. You can see this red line here points to the 23-week, and actually we want to go back to Ultra's first halving. We're going to start here. We can see this was obviously back in 2020. And if we take a look at Ultra, we can see that its price doesn't seem to do too much from the 20-week period. And this is where it seems to, once it puts in this price here, at around 3 cents at the time, 3.5 cents, Ultra stays above this range for almost all the weeks up until the halving. And then it takes off once after the halving and goes into putting great gains over a bull run year. But during this time frame, this 23 weeks, Ultra stays above this initial move up. And we can see if we take a look, we have one strong move up followed by another strong move up. And the moves are roughly proportionate to each other. They don't vary too much in terms of, they're almost equal in size, sort of, although this one's probably about a third bigger than this guy. Not too important, but if we do take a look at what Ultra is currently going through, we can see that if we go back 23 weeks from the expected halving date, or this is the week, so we can go 23 weeks back pretty easily. We can see that here Ultra has a strong move up, and then it's followed by another strong move up after the 23 weeks. So on the 23 weeks, I'll move this just a little higher so it's more easier, lines up better. We can see Ultra has a strong move up, followed by another strong move up, and you'll see they are relatively equal in size. Maybe this guy's a bit bigger than this one, but again, ultimately sort of equivalent in terms of proportions. And this price range that we seem to be looking at seems to be sort of below 20 cents and above 18 cents sort of a range. And we can see that Ultra has stayed above this price range ever since it crossed it. Now we've got a long way to go until we get to the halving, and these sort of downward trends do indicate a potential hypocrisy that we could move well below. I'll get into a contradiction as well why I think we could move way below this line and potentially put in a much lower price during the halving, but do just be aware that so far we've stayed above this initial price that we've pumped across. Again, this was the second leg that we find the marker. We move above 23 weeks before. If we go back and look at our first halving again, we can see that after a few weeks we do come down and test, and then once we come back up we start a definite trend downwards. So we can see we rally up and we come down to check after a couple of weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 or 8 weeks we come down to check, and then afterwards we rally up and trend down. And we do actually wick below ever so slightly. If we come back here, we can see we've been above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks now. So we have spent much longer above this range. However, you could argue that we have tested here, and that'll be around the 6-week, 7-week time frame, which again does corroborate what we're saying with the whole potential to move. So we could see a potential move back up here and a rejection off here. We did say that we did trend down off the second pump, and again this line could sort of be our resistance. Maybe we rally back up to here and then trend down, maybe dip below and come back up slightly for the halving. That could play out. It's definitely a potential for it. Again, the fact that Ultra hasn't really made a move up yet is a little worrying to me, but again, it isn't an exact science. These things can take longer or be shorter or be quicker or move higher or move lower. It's crypto, anything can happen, but just something to be aware of. A contradiction that might hold a lot more weight to this theory, and you might decide to put more backing behind, is this trend that Ultra has followed basically all of its life. And if you watched the last video, you'll know what this is. I spent a lot of time in that video going over it. Ultra has always moved in triangle patterns, and specifically it's moved in a big triangle, small triangle formation. And we can see in bull times, the first triangle is lower than the third triangle, always. And in bear times, the first triangle is higher than the third triangle. So we basically put a leg in and a leg up and a leg down. And bull runs, price moving up, obviously it has to increase in price over time. And bear runs, naturally price decreases over time. So we get these big small triangles that descend basically. And this should be marked in blue, but for some reason I haven't. It does always follow so far this big small triangle theory, even though you could argue, probably make a little case for a few of them not following the pattern. Like this guy, you could maybe argue he's a big triangle. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. And looking at what we're currently in, you could say this is a big triangle. I just haven't marked it for some reason. This is a small triangle. This is a big triangle. This is a small triangle. You could argue that we are due a big triangle now. And what that might look like is if we get our arrows out and draw. Let's just very quickly, rough and ready, draw what it might look like. It would probably end up something like this, especially now that I know we're not technically in a bear market, but we're not on a bull run either. And the trend that we're in still dictates downward movement. We could see something like this now. However way you might want to do it, you might want to move it closer or further out. The key thing is that the third triangle, the third corner, is lower than the first. That would put Ultra at around 12 cents. Now you could have this move and then potentially have a smaller triangle up into the halving. You might have something like this, where Ultra does move up. And hey, that might show a trend reversal. We can see that it's actually at the start of the halving when our triangle pattern reverses and we start putting in our upward moving triangles. You could argue that started now. Maybe this is the beginning. I don't think so, personally. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong about many things. So you might expect a price like this, and you never know. We might come down strong, but then this little triangle might bring us back up to an 18-cent range. We did dip below historically here, and it wasn't much of a dip, but again, it was a dip below, and we do actually go quite low. Quite low considerably. You could maybe form a triangle out of that. I don't think it quite works, really. It's a bit of a different pattern, just very rough and ready drawing this, so you guys can see. We put in more of an M shape than anything else. And then we, again, sort of return back. It doesn't really stick with the theory, but again, these things don't always have to fit into a theory. Sometimes they just do what they want to. And with the halving dates, it is a pretty hectic time. And this is where, we started our triangle movements. So again, we might see a switch up in pattern. Ultra does not have to adhere to this pattern. Under no circumstances is it guaranteed that it will continue to follow this trend. And most likely there will be some sort of a switch up because we need to go into a bullish market soon. Because as we can see, Ultra did basically just start to move up. It started its bull run after the halving. And we can see, if we do take a quick look at we'll say the halving date, which does sort of to be where it doesn't go much lower after the halving. We can see Ultra makes huge gains of 6,000% over the course of the bull run year. And for Ultra, it's almost the course of 2 years. So we might see something like that play out here, and it might do its own thing. It might follow the 23-week rule, where it ends up somewhere close to the 23 weeks, and then rallies up from there. I can't tell you, to be honest with you. But hopefully it's given you something to think about, and maybe it might make you rethink your plan, if you have one surrounding Ultra. Now, taking a look at Ultra on its Bitcoin pair, we can see similarities between the charts, but honestly not too clear, really. We can see after the halving, obviously, Ultra has this big move up, or it did last time, and that reflects in the BTC chart as well, only to be brought right back down, which is interesting. But again, not too uncommon. We do see a lot of altcoins have an immediate pump up, only for it to be retraced almost immediately, almost as quick as it went up. And then that's often like the perfect time to move back into your altcoin. We do see this with basically every single alt. What we do also see with other alts is that they usually trend down into the halving on their Bitcoin pairs. Again, this is just going back to Bitcoin taking back dominance from the crypto space. And this has been playing out somewhat, even though the Ethereum Bitcoin pair has been rallying like crazy this last week. Ultra does seem to be following this, and it does look like it is currently following this sort of a move. And here, this guy equal to this guy, although again that's kind of not proven at all. So maybe we could see a move up from here. It does look like, to be honest with you, it will rally to the upside here. I think it will push up, and again it could just play out something like this. Again, we see a bit of an M movement here. Similar to what we saw on the USD chart on its first halving, a bit of an M movement. And then once we're through the halving, again, the halving week is where we put in basically a low. We revisit that low a few weeks later, and then we explode upwards. The only difference being we come lower than that low once we retrace from this initial pump on the Bitcoin pair. So what we could potentially see on the Bitcoin chart is we just, again, almost playing out a very similar way. We put in an M, very well could put in an M. We see we have this sort of support line here. They are very similar. I can definitely see that continuing to hold more or less. I mean, we did have a few wicks below here, and we've definitely had more than a few wicks below here. So again, anything could happen. But me personally, I think Ultra will continue to bounce off this trend. We'll probably have a move up here, a strong move up on his Bitcoin pair. I don't know. It is sort of the time again where a lot of alts do pull away from crypto do pull away a bit from Bitcoin and take some of their value back that they've been losing over the bear market years. So it wouldn't be strange for me to see a move up again here. Similar in terms of this move as well. Sort of a drastic volatile move up. But who knows? In terms of where Ultra went on its Bitcoin pair after the halving, we can see it was another very strong move of about 1,000%. Of course, not as impressive as US dollar gains, but still pretty good. Much better than holding BTC through a Bitcoin year. And in terms of where we are now, if Ultra is to play out in a similar way, I'm going to assume this low is equivalent to the other low. If you sold at a perfect time, again, you're about 900%, just under 1,000% of a move up from where you currently are now. Again, that's assuming that Ultra will play out the same, which is, of course, no guarantee, just an interesting statistic to look at. But we do see that whenever Ultra does come down to this 400 Satoshi level, it is considered good value, as it rarely goes much lower than that, with, of course, the few exceptions of its inception, its launch price, and then 1 wick below after the halving. But again, not too much to glean from the BTC pair. Basically down in bear run years, up in bull run years, with a few exceptions of around the halving we have erratic price movement. Nothing you haven't heard before. So that about wraps up this video. I know it's a much shorter one, but again, sometimes you just don't need to say too much about these things. Sometimes looking at the chart themselves is good enough. If you like this video, please let me know down in the comments. Always appreciate you guys reaching out. Always love hearing from you guys, and always interested in what you have to say. So again, hit me up down in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Consider subscribing for more crypto TA, and check out the affiliate links in the description if you want some sign-up bonuses on exchanges like FairDesk. Thanks very much, guys. Take care and peace.